So just to pivot, Sister Lauren, on regards, I'm going to come to you, Sister Amina, but just to pivot on this educational piece, because what you were saying just really embraces what Sister just said in regards to our young people in your profession, where you're seeing our young people as an educator, particularly our young girls. How are you seeing them cope with the bombardment of diversity, diverse cultures? And as Sister mentioned, just this preponderance of information, or really data, because it's not even information, it's just data, it's just unstructured information, right? Or just, So how are you seeing that we can actually get through, as opposed to, we know what the problem is? What's your solutions that you would give to a young 17-year-old on the phone, or a young sister who's just become 22, 23, and she's found that she's a mother or expecting, etc., and have not determined, or does not feel passionate about anything they're currently doing, but the bills have to be paid? How would you guide such a young sister?
Absolutely. So what I can say is, when I do see that, I have a wide range of observation of thousands and thousands of young people, and specifically our young women. They are getting a lot of information, data, that they're not really sure how to discern what is true information, and then further, what information is actually applicable to their lives. So I always offer that you are never done growing. You can always evolve, but wherever you are, if you don't like something about that space, you are so powerful that you have the ability to actually change it. So while you are going through whatever that space may be, you need to be looking forward to see the light, vision. We talked about vision, and speaking the vision forward. So if I'm here and I know I got to work 2 jobs right now because I've made some decisions, things are in front of me, and I have to address these things in the right now, you do those things. But if it doesn't fit you, if it doesn't feel right and you're uncomfortable in that thing, you are so powerful that you can change it. Whatever you do today must be propelling you toward whatever your vision is. For example,
tell me, just to interject, what's the consequences then of not making that move?
Of not
because
making
you're feeling what you should be doing.
Yes.
If you and you don't make the move, what's the consequences?
I think the first thing is we never can leave it up to the young people on their own.
Right.
So we still have an obligation. My daughter's 27. I am still her mother, right? She has children. I am their grandmother, right? Yes. So we cannot leave children to their own vices and their own interpretation of life, right? Nor should we want to. Some people think, oh, my child's 18, they're out of my house, or they had a child, they're out of, that is still your blood. So I always tell my young people, I know you are not out in the world misrepresenting me, and I happen to be your mother. Or I have sons who have the names of their grandfathers, and I say, uh-oh, my father would not present in the world in that way, and you have his name. That connection never leaves. So I say that first. We still have obligation to young people as they are young adults. That's one. So if we see someone without that, what did we miss and who can we grab? I'm everybody's auntie. They call me Mama Lauren in Detroit. If you say Mama Lauren, they know exactly who Mama Lauren. That's me. What do we have going on here? That communal connection and responsibility, it never goes away. So for me, I'm not leaving our young people out here the best I can. I can't take all of them, but that's because I have all of you, and we're all going to hold hands and do this in community. Like you said, we need to do some conferencing, right? Yes. So that's my stance on young people making decisions. However, we also have to give them examples. I taught Montessori for a period of time. If you know the Montessorian methodology, it is about modeling. There is minimal talking, right? Because they're watching what you're doing.
Yes.
So it is in life.
Yes.
So it is in life. So if we are modeling and giving examples to our young people, then they know there could be something else. However, some of those young people may not have had the experience to see something else. So therefore, Mama Lauren, Mama Malika, Baba Abdul, right? Mama
Right.
Mina,
Right.
somebody is going to show them something different and help them or give them a path forward.
Right.
But I also, again, it's not our whole job. It is a part of our work, but we have to pour it back to the youth. You have to give them the ownership. Give them space to make mistakes. Don't berate them for making the mistakes. The young people have to know we love them. It's not always comfortable. It's not always sweet and kind and cupcakes and baking cookies.
Mm-hmm.
However, the love sometimes is my love, beloved.
Right.
What we got here?
Right.
What we got here? Here's where I see we are. This is where we have to get to. What do you propose? And how do we help you do what you propose? Here's my suggestion. And we can't be upset because the young people don't always take what we give them.
Right.
My daughter has not done all the things I would love for her to have done in a way that I would have loved for her to do them. However, I am so open to her evolving the idea of the mores and the values that I continually will impart into those young people. You have to be okay with the second 2.0, 3.0 version of yourself.
Right.
If we don't have that, then we're doing it wrong. I can tell you that, because I could not have been the same version of my mother that her mother envisioned for her. We're in a different time. So where's that space? So it's about openness, it's about circular responsibility, it's about community building. And so I'm going back to that conversation of us having a vision, but being okay with the young people taking that vision, adjusting it for the current time and space, and evolving it forward. We don't always see ourselves in the future, but if you look down the wheel of time, wherever you go, there you are. And so the mores and the values remain the same. That's our work. That's going to continue to be our work. And that's how the young people move forward. We're not done raising them.
Fantastic. And I want to just caution both of you who've spoken that before you have this conference that was mentioned, ensure that it's an international conference, okay? Ensure, because I think that's one of the problems we've had. Like every country, every community has their conference regarding a global people. So if we're going to have a conference to discuss a solution to a global people, then the global family has to be in the room who represent a different perspective. So I think that's very important. So
agreed.
So just to add to that, I just want to put something out there to all of you on the line at the moment. I need a letter from you or an email within the next 24 hours of apology for you not bringing somebody else with you. Because look what somebody you know is missing out on. And I know what's going through your head, such and such needs to be hearing what these sisters are saying. That's what's going on in your head, right? So I want an apology because I invited you to something that was life-changing and you didn't move with fervor. You just brought yourself.
Brother, if I could be honest, Sister Malika and I, this is the way we talk at the kitchen table all the time with our group of
we want your kitchen table in the spirit of injection.
So we speak this very way with the children present all of the time.
Sylvina, we just got a new kitchen table.
Right.
So let me just bring in Queen Amina. Queen, like you're in Los Angeles, which is a microcosm of the twisted world in one place, right? Everything bad and good is in Los Angeles. Right?
Yeah.
It's all there. Amina, you've disappeared. Where's my sister gone?
I hear?
I've lost your video.
I can't see you.
There you go.
I'm sorry.
No
yes,
problem.
sir. I wanted to let Malika and Lauren both know I am also from Detroit, born and raised. And I came to California in 1974. And I can say this as a business owner, on a daily basis, we come across young women and young men, homelessness, mental illness, drugs, cross-dressing, foster care children that aged out. And so, yes, I'm in agreement with everything you're saying. We have to talk to these children and we have to take time to show them love and affection because many of them have never had it. And we realize that. So one of the reasons we started the Rites of Passage program was so that we could teach young people when they graduate from school entrepreneur skills. You may not have a job waiting for you. So you need to learn how to make something. So we would teach sewing, cooking. We would have them dance, drill. We taught a lot about culture, have African drumming. We would have them do art, teach about fashion. So there's a lot that we've done in the community, in the Leimert Park Village, that we're doing as well to help enhance the young people and to guide them. I worked as a doula for over 30 years, and I can say that I'm an advocate for natural birth. And so when I would see a young pregnant girl in Leimert Park, I would always go to her and ask her, do you have help? Is there someone that's going to go with you to the birth? Or would you like my phone number so that I can assist you and at least talk to you on a daily basis, until you have your baby? And I tell you, 9 out of 10 would give me their number, and I would work with them and I would help them because they didn't have help and they didn't have anyone to talk to, and they did have natural births. I do want to end it with that. I know a lot of time, but I just want to say that we have to follow our intuition. That's what I do. I follow my intuition. I listen for a sign, or I listen for a voice to guide me and let me know which way to go and what I need to do. And so that has to be taught because all of us have it. We all have that sense. All the girls have it, but no one has ever told them that that's something that they can rely on. So thank you.
Thank you, beloved. So I know you've got another appointment, Sister Lauren. So if you would like to share some closing words for our audience before you have to leave our show, please, the floor is yours.
Yes, I would say that I have no problem, use the word fighting for young people. And that comes out of being a mother, right? You have a certain amount of fight and just will to live and thrive for yourself. But there's something about when you become a mother, and I can only speak about being a mother, so I'm not leaving you out intentionally, brothers. But when you are a mother, you will change the way that you operate. You will change the course of your life. You will reinvent yourself to ensure that your young people have the optimal environment to thrive and be their best selves. And so when a woman is creating home and creating space in which she's going to develop her young people, whether that's home, whether that's community, or whatever it is, I leave the brothers with support that. Support that. If it's someone worth being in the same space, support that. When that woman is supported and given the opportunity to truly invest her time and energy in developing our young people, we're going to see a change in the outcomes on large scale. Additionally, women, we have so much feminine power that we can actually set the expectations. When I taught at Roma Institute here in Detroit, which was one of the longstanding African-centered independent institutions for a long time, the young men would start wearing their pants below their waist.
Yeah.
And so I ran the Rites of Passage program for our young folks, and I was the president of the Mamas Club and all of those things. And I would say, young sisters, why are you accepting that? And they were like, what? Why are we accepting it? We're not their mothers. We're not. I said, yes, if you give them attention and you say, I like that, then they're going to keep doing it. But when you say, oh, my dear brother, I can't even look your way. I'm not sure you know how to dress yourself properly. Right. It's not acceptable. And guess what the young brothers did? They just had a hard stance. The middle school girls like, oh no, we're not even, you're not even dressed properly. The change was like that. Those young brothers rose to the occasion. So what I give and I offer back is please understand your divine feminine power that exists. And when possible, brothers, please do your best to create that space, whether that is your romantic partner, whether that is your partner in educating, whether that's a community partner, whatever you can do to support creating that space where the women can tend to the youth and we can develop and pour into the youth. we're going to see a dynamic change. So I just ask everyone to stand in their own power. And so I'll leave you with that. Be kind to our young people. Be beautiful to our young people, and make sure that we have given them the examples, whether it's in their own home or not. And so if someone calls you mama, someone call you baba, turn around and answer.
Right.
Answer. What do we need, beloved?
Right.
All right. So everyone have a wonderful rest of the day. I apologize. I have to get to another obligation. Blessings.
Thank you. Blessings. Thank you for coming. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. So, Sister Malika, I know where's Sylvina? She's like,
here I am. I'm like, you told me to come in and I can't even come in.
No, but you got to kick down the door.
The funny
door
thing
is locked, we go through the window.
I'm enjoying the trajectory, so I'm torn as to whether I intervene or not, because I'm enjoying the conversation. You mentioned, sisters, modeling has been mentioned. I've had to pivot my ask, but there's so many things I'm going to ask, but you kind of covered them in a form of a way. But modeling has been mentioned a few times this evening, and it's been covered in terms of, you know, offering love, offering affection, etc. But it's been mentioned mainly from the perspective of, you know, woman, whether it's mother, you know, auntie, to child. I wanted to know what you would say in terms of peer-to-peer modeling, you know, woman to woman, sister to sister, grandmother to mother. What's your perspective on modeling in that sense? Because some women either may genuinely not be in a position to model, or may not feel that they are in a position but actually are. So peer-to-peer modeling, what would you say about that?
So I'll strive to be brief and answer this in two ways. So one is, in many instances, our capacity to inspire and even liberate each other comes through our simple decision to be our whole free selves wherever we show up in the world. And measuring that can be incredibly difficult, because so often we're impacting people and we don't even know it. But we can rest assured that it is occurring. And so that's often going to be in informal spaces. Sometimes it's going to be in a workspace and you're engaging with someone that you wouldn't necessarily have reason to be interacting with in a more intentional manner. But the fact that you're showing up in space every single day, offering up to the world who you are fully, really is empowering for others. And I'll give a really quick anecdote. And this was something that transpired when I was a teenager. I never relaxed my hair. On a brief period, and my mama was like, who's paying that $65 every 6 weeks? And I was like, bet, I have natural hair then. And eventually I came into a space where I appreciated it. And I started to twist my hair. And I learned how to do it in a way that was, you know, that was attractive and was well kept. And there was a little sister whose mother was had Mexican heritage and had never worked with the full beauty and breadth of curly, kinky hair, and did not know how to prepare her daughter's hair. And it had to have been 16 years later, I'm sitting in an interview with her. And we're waiting for another member of the team to come in for the interview. And she was like, you know, you changed the way I thought about hair. And I was like, thank you. I had no idea what she was talking about. I was a camp counselor. A summer she was in middle school. And I'm maybe 15 or 16 on the bus. And what am I doing while I'm on the bus for a 3-hour ride? I'm retwisting my hair. And so now I'm looking at her with a twist out in her hair. And I only knew that because she named it. I couldn't even remember the experience. I was just doing what it was to be my full natural self with skills that fortunately had been passed on to me. So I wasn't modeling with intentionality. I was just showing up in the world as my whole self. And that was me as a girl, older girl, but as a girl to another girl. So when we think about as women, what it looks like for us to be brave enough not to cut off those pieces of ourselves that sometimes we might sort of question, whether it's sort of showing up in terms of the way that we dress in a way that might reflect our belief system, whether it's saying things that need to be said in a meeting, when we know that statistically women talk exponentially less in spaces where men are present, irrespective of race. To go ahead and say those words, that is offering a way of modeling. The other piece I would say is that particularly as Black women, as we move up the ladder, whatever that looks like, whether that's in an entrepreneurial space like Queen Amina, whether for me within an institutional space, talk to Black women. Be intentional about engaging them and letting them know that you are a space where they can be found and seen. Because there often aren't, in many institutions, there aren't necessarily formal mentorship programs. And rest assured, and we know, if you are a Black woman who's in a managerial position, when you walk into a room, you are often the only one that looks like you. So be intentional as you're looking at young Black women who are moving through the ranks, and young Black people, young Black professionals at large. Be intentional about reaching out. Be intentional about reaching out, and also be open to being a safe space for your peers. Because there's so much within the professional context, even when you're talking about majority Black institutions, because so often they are structured within a white supremacist framework, right? I work in a business where lots of folks love Black culture and hate Black people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So what does it look like to have to navigate that space as a Black person that loves both?
Right.
While striving to ensure that the institutions you represent can be sustainable over time, right? While we work as a people to recognize the import of funding our own legacies. You have to be a space. You have to be an open space. So it requires intentionality in terms of going out and saying those words and letting folks know that you are present for them. And it also is about having that open door such that when somebody needs to, they can identify that you are one of those people to whom they can come.
Fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you. And Sister Amina, if you can contribute to that, of course, but also if you can offer, your closing comments, because I know you do have to leave early also.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, I'm in agreement with her, because in the area that I'm in is male dominated. It's mostly men that have shops, and so the women tend to come to me. They come to me to discuss their problems, what they're going through. And I have made that space a space where you can feel comfortable to come, and I will assist wherever I can. Sometimes it's $5, $10, trying to get on the bus, whatever it is that I can do. I really strive to do it. Sometimes they're hungry and I'll buy them a dinner. But no, I'm in agreement that we have to be open, kind, and loving, and allow them to express themselves. And I really strive to live that and to do it on a daily basis. So thank you very much for having me. I appreciate you. I'm having an iftar tonight, so I do have to go. But
Yes,
I have so much fun. Thank you. I feel so honored. Thank you. I love that I've met two sisters from Detroit. I'm just
Yeah.
Detroit seems to be the power center for excellence.
Black. We grew up in a neighborhood where everyone was Black. The businesses were owned mostly by Black people, and so yeah, I had a very happy upbringing in Detroit, and I do love Detroit. Yes.
I used to say I grew up in a time in Detroit where everything was Black except the money.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am. So someone wants me to mention my website, queenamina.com, and Instagram, Queen Amina. So if you get a chance, you can go on. I want to say we did one thing that was so phenomenal. We, the sisters and I, we rode on the MLK float and also the Kwanzaa float. And we received over 1 million views. So I'm excited. And it's still going strong. So yes, so please, Queen Amina on Instagram. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Queen. Thank you so much. And love and best wishes to your family from me and all of us on the Spiritual Injection.
Yes, sir. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum. Thank you.
Well, yes, sir.
So, Sister Malika, I'd like to ask you, as a student of history and one who is exposed to our history on a daily basis, how can we use the traumatic aspects of our history for empowerment today? How can we use such history to ensure that it doesn't just make our people bitter and feel somewhat, disappointed even with God, who we may be of the mind allowed this to happen and, puts us at such a disadvantage? What would you extrapolate from our history that we could put at the feet of those who are listening so that they can use such rich history for empowerment purposes?
So thank you for that question. And I have a few thoughts about that. One, and I'll use an anecdote again. As even in law, even as a law student, I spent a lot of time engaging race in the law and using critical race theory, which I have watched for the last 2 years be completely bastardized and politicized. It really is a theory that we use in law school. It's a framing via which to think through how laws have either intentionally or unintentionally impacted people based on race. And in my final year of law school, I was conducting an independent research study on the relationship of Black women to rape and sexual assault laws within U.S. history. And as and one can imagine that is not a pleasant subject.
Yes, ma'am.
And there was one particular treatise that documented sexual assaults and attempted sexual assaults of Black femme domestic workers in the United States in the early 20th century. And there were just all these accounts. And there was one in particular, and this was after I'd already read several cases, the first of which, in which a Black girl, a woman, appears in a question of rape. She's an enslaved woman in Mississippi, I believe it's the early 1830s. And the case obviously isn't even contemplating her as a person. Yes. So by the time I've gotten like a century ahead, I just found myself weeping uncontrollably. Yes. Because what was so fully concretized for me in that moment is that what we had endured,
yes, ma'am,
no human being really should be able to survive.
Right.
Like we shouldn't even exist after having to navigate this. Right. So if we only knew what we managed to make a life out of, instead of thinking about our history or contemplating it from the perspective of what happened to us, which unfortunately is still framing and centering white supremacy and oppression. Think about what it takes for a human being to not only survive, but to navigate, to fight, to love. How hard must it be to love someone enough to create a child that you pray a freedom for that you know you will not see, long enough that you author it?
Powerful.
That is so incredibly powerful. How amazing must we be to be separated from our mothers, to be separated from our fathers, to be separated from our person, loves of our lives. And in the United States, immediately following emancipation, one of the first things that Black people do is get married.
Right.
We get married. At the turn of the 20th century, we have the highest rate of marriage, over 90%.
Right.
Because we were so dedicated to our humanity. We were not slaves, we were enslaved. And I know that historically we hear that term, but when we really look at how determined our people were to remain people while living in utterly inhumane conditions, we come to understand that it was a condition and not a state of being.
Right.
Because I toured just a couple months ago, a young woman who's a rising star in the culinary world, who has roots in Charleston, Low Country, as we call it. And she talked about having an uncle whose name, and we probably can relate to this because I find that this is a diasporic trend. You don't know the legal name of a family member because everybody calls them by something else.
Right.
Well, in the case of this particular uncle, her entire life she had been calling him by an African name. She had no idea that his legal name was James. And what she discovered with that learning, right, with that uncovering of his legal name, was that the name he'd been using his entire life was what historically would have been referred to as a basket name. So basket names are names that enslaved Africans would have given to their children at the point of birth that were transliterations, iterations, or just directly from the cultural memory of their African ancestry.
Yes, ma'am.
And that was the name she was calling her uncle.
Wow.
And it was a name that had been passed down to him from a great-great-grandfather.
Right.
So we were holding on. We were holding on to everything that we could and remaking ourselves in the midst of terror.
Right.
How amazing must we be?
Absolutely.
How amazing.
Absolutely.
Well, make sure to like, subscribe, and click that notification bell so you won't miss an episode.